The Valley of Ashes Symbolism. The Valley of Ashes Symbolism. The Valley of Ashes is a significant symbol in F. Scott Fitzgerald's modernist novel, The Great Gatsby, published in 1925. The valley symbolizes the decline of the American dream and the moral deca of society. Of society. The Valley of Ashes is a desolate industrial area that lies between New York City and the affluent areas of West and East Egg. It is a place of poverty and despair, where the ash from the city's fact reese and automobiles settles, covering everything in a gray film. Fitzgerald uses vivid descriptions to create a sense of emptiness and hopelessness in the Valley of Ashes. Reese and automobiles settles, covering everything in a gray film. Fitzgerald uses vivid descriptions to create a sense of emptiness and hopelessness in the Valley of Ashes. The Valley of Ashes is also home to George Wilson's garage, which is filled with old cars that he repairs and sells. Wilson and his wife, Myrtle, live above the garage in a small apartment. The Wilsos are an example of the working-class people who live in the Valley of Ashes, struggling to make ends meet in a society that values wealth and privilege. Are an example of the working-class people who live in the Valley of Ashes, struggling to make ends meet in a society that values wealth and privilege. Fitzgerald uses the Valley of Ashes to symbolize the corruption and decay of American society in the 1920s. The novel is set during the Jazz Age, a time of great economic prosperity and social liberation. However, Fitzgerald suggests that this era is marked by moral decay, corruption, and the decline of traditional values. However, Fitzgerald suggests that this era is marked by moral decay, corruption, and the decline of traditional values. The Valley of Ashes represents the darker side of the American dream, the dream that promises success, wealth, and happiness, but ultimately leads to disillusionment and despair. The novel's protagonist, Street J. Gatsby, embodies the American dream, having risen from humble origins to become a wealthy and successful man. However, Gatsby's wealth is built on illegal activities, and he is unable to add a. Street J. Gatsby embodies the American dream, having risen from humble origins to become a wealthy and successful man. However, Gatsby's wealth is built on illegal activities, and he is unable to add a. And the one thing he truly desires, the love of Daisy Buchanan. The Valley of Ashes also serves as a metaphor for the environmental destruction caused by industrialization. The ash from the factories and automobiles represents the pollution that is poisoning the environment and damaging the health of people and animals. Fitzgerald was a keen observer of the negative effects of modern industrial society on the natural environment. Environment and damaging the health of people and animals. Fitzgerald was a keen observer of the negative effects of modern industrial society on the natural environment. The Valley of Ashes is also a symbol of the class divide in American society. The wealthy inhabitants of East and West Egg enjoy privileged lives of luxury and excess, while the working class recede in of the Valley of Ashes struggle to survive. The Wilsons, in particular, are trapped in a cycle of poverty and hopelessness, unable to escape the Valley of Ashes and the social constraints that keep of the Valley of Ashes struggle to survive. The Wilsons, in particular, are trapped in a cycle of poverty and hopelessness, unable to escape the Valley of Ashes and the social constraints that keep them there. Fitzgerald critiques the shallowness and decadence of the rich and privileged in The Great Gatsby. The character of Tom Buchanan embodies the arrogance and insensitivity of the wealthy elite, who portrayed as self-centered and morally bankrupt. Tom's affair with Myrtle Wilson is a graphic illustration of the selfishness and cruelty of the wealthy, who treat the lower classes as objects to be portrayed as self-centered and morally bankrupt. Tom's affair with Myrtle Wilson is a graphic illustration of the selfishness and cruelty of the wealthy, who treat the lower classes as objects to be used and discarded. The Valley of Ashes is also an allegory for the decline of morality in American society. The moral decay that Fitzgerald depicts is evident not only in the character's personal behavior but also in T.E. social and political institutions of the era. The excesses of the Jazz Age,